I'm going to ask each of you, starting at this end of the adjudication panel, please. What do you think is the future of adjudication in Queensland? And any last comments that you'd like everyone in the room today to walk away with following tonight's session?
Thanks again for the poison chalice, Janelle. I don't think adjudication has a rosy future because it's interim. It's been hijacked by my brother and sister solicitors and barristers, and so it's jolly complex deciding things. It's much easier to have a dispute resolution system which allows that person deciding a matter to have a wider ambit if you want the dispute resolved. So that's what I say. I think the other thing is a last comment, sorry, hopefully that's that. Then the last comment, I think the marketplace is going to decide. I haven't done an adjudication this year, so I'm rusty. Other people who've done more would be far better than me. So, you know, what happens? You just drop off because there are less adjudications. Just let the marketplace decide. People will decide, oh, it's not worth keeping up the CPDs or whatever. That's, in my view, the reality there. So I'm sorry, gentleman and lady, I don't see much future in us sitting here in 5 years' time.
Thank you, Chris. I'm glad Chris went first because I haven't agreed with everything he said tonight, but I do agree 100% with what Chris is saying. I actually do not think the future of adjudication in Queensland is rosy. However, I have enjoyed being an adjudicator for the last 16, 17 years. I've enjoyed the CPD, and I would totally recommend that individuals within the cost parameters of what CPD events are, while adjudications are still there, I would totally recommend that people continue to upskill themselves.
My concern, I guess, for the future adjudications is how it's going to impact on the statutory trusts. There is a phenomenal opportunity for claimants to absolutely cause a massive ruckus under statutory trust, particularly because they almost get priority. It is one of the payments that got changed to the statutory trust over the PBAs, where a payment for the adjudication can come out as a priority. I think the other issue is the fact that people don't get the dates and the timeframes, and people are issuing schedules at the wrong time, or they miscalculate due dates for payments. That then causes a massive issue under statutory trusts. So I think there's a really good opportunity there for people to stitch people up, and I think that's what I personally think is going to happen through the future of statutory trusts. And given how ridiculously complex they are, that's just going to add to it. So I think if it wasn't for the statutory trust, I absolutely agree. I think in terms of dispute resolution, it is not going to be rosy. It's not going to help, but statutory trusts are going to make it even worse.
I'm going to oppose my three earlier commentators. Adjudication will continue. It has to continue. I spent 20 years as a builder before I became a lawyer. And in the last 10 years of that, spent a huge amount of time battling to get paid. There was no process. There was dispute resolution mechanisms in contracts. There was expert determination, arbitration, etc. But there was no short-term, interim, rapid process. What we need to do, obviously, is get, as we've mentioned a few times this evening, get adjudication back to what it was intended to be. Now, whether or not that's, as Warren was picking up, some of the stuff out of the Victorian model, some of the stuff out of the West Coast model, where you've got the ability to two-way street it, these things all need to be worked through, but there is a future for it, there must be a future for it, and it must continue. In terms of the second question that Janelle posed, what can you take out of this evening? The only suggestion that I can give you for those who are adjudicators, picking up on what Colin said, engage in CPD. What I said before, get yourself a mentor if you're learning about it. But unless you're serious about it, get out of it. For those who are users of the system, take advice from those that know what they're doing, and only approach adjudication if you get your ducks in a row. Because otherwise, I'm sorry, but you're likely to end up in a great pool of shit, to be blunt.
And so maybe it's going to all become a bit repetitive. But yeah, I think there's always going to be a place for adjudication. Problem at the moment is the cost for an interim solution. Whether it's going to be rosy or not, I think probably not, but it depends a lot on what changes may come in the future. I think that there are changes that could potentially be made to make the system work significantly better. I don't know that, I mean, it depends what you call by rosy. Maybe it's good that there isn't a lot of adjudication happening. Maybe people are sorting things out themselves, I don't know. But I think if the appropriate changes were made so that some of the cost came out of using the system and the quality of the decisions was better, then the uptake should remain.